Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion, and I am Peter. And joining me on the other side of the screen slash mic is Watch Party. How you doing, sir?
I am great. Happy to be here.
Yes, me too. It's been a while. We kept on postponing this episode, and let's be honest, top five episodes we needed all the time we needed to take in order to kind of go through every single thing, find, comb it, and make sure that these are indeed our top five favorites. Or is it favorites, or is it just top five episodes that we think are the best episodes?
Top five episodes that made the cut right now. You could I certainly for my five, I could take those away and fill in another five complete episodes because there's so many good ones in this show.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, tomorrow my list could be completely different, right?
Mhm.
And I'm sure it's changed a few iterations and whatnot, but we are back after just a minor hiatus. And again, we kept on postponing due to life things, as life happens. But a brief update on Cobra Kai news. The writer strike is still going. Not really huge updates, really.
No,
They
there's
just
no updates.
yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
they haven't
yeah.
even
There's
negotiated. So
Right. And so like they're still picketing. The writers are still picketing. There's been a lot of support from other unions, even unrelated to the industry, because a lot of contracts around the country are expiring, so there's a lot of things going on right now. And
Mhm.
so nothing major to update. If you follow the right accounts on social media, they kind of tell you and retweet and share things from some of these uh, um locations where it's going on. And yeah, I even tried like I tried finding out like when how many days it's been. And I don't think I was able to find like an accurate count. Do you
It was like
remember when
May
it's still
1st, right?
May
It
1st?
was like
So
May
we
1st.
so it
So
is about
we're in
63 days.
yeah, it's a couple months
Or
now. It's
65 or something like
yeah.
that. So okay,
Mhm.
yeah, mid 60s ish. Because I did see that number and I wasn't sure if that was accurate, but that's kind of where we are now. In just a little over a month, we have the release of Sholo's Blue Beetle. So very, very
Mhm.
excited to see that. Um, I think that's pretty much. Oh well, so shout out to Ken Cole, who.
Ta-dam.
We'll save that for last.
Oh,
But yes, Hayden Schlossberg, one of the creators of Cobra Kai, was a guest on Ken Cole's podcast and YouTube channel, whichever you prefer. And they talked about Karate Kid 3. And so that was
Mhm.
really interesting. And you get some insight on maybe the brainstorming and the dialogues had in bringing that character of Terry Silver into Cobra Kai. So a lot of fun. Check it out. Watch Party, you also shared it. And
Yeah, it's a
Tadam.
good. Yeah, yeah, and
Oh,
then to them.
yeah, yeah, right, right. Yeah, it was a good interview for sure. Also featuring the Last Row podcast, Kevin and Drew there.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
It's a broad discussion on Karate Kid 3 too. So just everything about it. Mike Barnes, the
yeah, yeah,
positives, the negatives about the whole movie.
absolutely. And then Tadam, you just kind of mentioned it. This is a Netflix event. I don't, do they do it annually? I'm assuming they do.
I think it's like an annual thing now. Yeah.
Okay. And not to really go over it in detail, do you want to kind of just briefly share what it's in regards, because you made a really great video and kind of doing what you do, taking every detail from that little clip and making like just under 15 minutes of like really great content out of it.
Yeah. Well, so what Netflix put out, it was a little promo of a read through of episode 1 of season 6. A lot of networks do this, especially for final season. It's like a marketing thing, that tie in, big shows. They do this a lot on a lot of big shows. They did it for this one. When I saw it, like it makes sense. So they had the cast or most of the main characters. Not everyone was there, but we're there for a read through of episode 1. It was it was fun. Yeah. So I think just from the emotional standpoint, it was fun just seeing the cast together and everything. And then we did get a little snippet of dialogue. Gianni was reading as Dimitri. He was reading his character, just to clarify that. But he was saying, like crap, what was the line now? He's talking about clearly this guy Takai, you know, for individual winners, or no, for the dojo lives in infamy or whatever, glory, whatever. Individual winners, the sky's the limit. But before we
Think
get into any of that,
immortalized,
immortalized,
immortalized.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the word. Um, and then, but then before they get into any of that, they need to decide their dojo name. And so that's it. What's the dojo name? They flashed the script, title to be determined, which Hayden confirmed. He was in my live stream. He said that is not the title. so, so to be determined is not the title. Um, and then there, since like they were shooting them reading it, so and they had music playing, so we didn't hear them, but we did see them like reading from the script. I was maybe able to make a few things out from like a shot of Mary reading. It was like upside down and reversed, and like she's got her hand there, but we were able to make some things out. So I have a good video on that, sort of dissecting just a little bit, from
yeah,
that scene. She,
yep, absolutely. I mean, you got quite a bit out of that, and yeah, if you guys want some of those details, check it out. Watch Party on YouTube. Uh,
Mhm.
and anything else you could think of. There's still no update on Obliterated. That's something that the John Josh and Hayden had mentioned in my previous interview with them recently.
Yeah,
And
nothing on Blitter. Twisted Metal's coming this month, right? In a few
that's right.
weeks now.
That's
We have
right.
no
Yeah.
trailer, but I guess they're gonna do the trailer is like shortly before the show releases.
Yeah,
So I
I
think
think
I think
so.
that's
Probably like, in the last 2 weeks or so, because we're
Mhm,
approaching, let's see here. We just got, I'm trying to do the math here, got about just a little over 3 weeks left at this
mhm,
point. So I would imagine some stuff coming soon. I
mhm.
remember they had
Oh,
record. Go ahead.
or just something else. I was just wasn't School Spirits renewed for season two?
Yes, 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 yes. School
There
Spirits
you
is
go
renewed for
for
season two.
Painless. Yeah.
Yeah, so for those that checked out that show or is interested in checking it out, Sarah, she wrote episodic reviews for those episodes, or for season one rather, on the website.
Mhm.
Currently Cobra Kai Companion, but you can go to companionnetwork.com, companion with a K, and read them there. And she is game on coming back to write about season two if we get screeners for them. But at the very least, even if we don't get the screeners, I'm sure she'd be fine with watching it in real time with everybody else and writing the reviews. So if people are looking for
Right.
someone to, yeah, discuss the show with, check
Mhm.
out Purple Hawk on Twitter. So
Yes.
or Cobra Words on Instagram. So
Instagram. Mhm.
yep, yep. So I think that's it, and we will get into top five episodes. So watch party. Any criteria? How did you compile your list?
By going through every episode again and again and just trying to ultimately there was a couple of episodes that have always been how do I say dear to my heart, or that I've said. In fact, in one of my videos um previously, I even asserted a particular episode was the best episode um of the show. And I think I might have done this to a top 5 episodes. Was it top 5 or top 10 or something with Drew, Cobra Kai Kid? This is a while ago, back after only season 2. So I did this um after only 2 seasons. So obviously my list has changed quite a bit since then. So I don't have any criteria specifically other than um just really, really good show that hits on all the points that make the show great, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I did. I didn't have criteria either, really. I was basically the episode itself had to be full, and what I mean by that is not just like a lot of great moments, like from start to end. It had to be, a really great episode.
Mhm.
And also maybe this is a criteria adjacent, but maybe an episode I often reference, or make references to, whether it's quote or something like that. Clearly,
Mhm.
that episode, executed something well that I would often draw like references to a scene or something that somebody says, or something that was introduced that now is part of my vernacular. Um,
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
I said all that right, but for example, send it to the internet, something like that, right?
There you go.
Right. And if that particular episode was like a quote unquote full episode, as I just described, like that would be something I would heavily consider. So,
Yeah.
since I came up with this topic, I will go first. My number five comes from season two, episode five. Did I say that right? Season two, episode five, All In. This is directed by
Fun.
Josh Heald, and at the
Hmm.
time, well, it still is, even at the time, written by Josh and Hayden. Um, so this one, this is where, um, oh gosh, I'm trying to read through because it's been a while since I've made the list and watched these episodes. But Salmon, okay, so this is the cool fight. What's the cool fight here?
Mall fight.
The mall fight. So we have
Mall
the
fight. Yeah.
mall fight,
Hmm.
but also like the thing that I remember most from this episode is the Cobra Kai sneaking into Miyagi-Do late at night, and we see the aftermath of it the next morning from basically Daniel's point of view. They spray painted over the vehicle that he was given by Mr. Miyagi for his 16th
Yeah.
birthday,
Destroyed the
uh,
backyard.
destroyed the
Yeah.
backyard,
Yeah.
TP all over it,
Hmm.
stolen the Medal of Honor. Um, and so just very emotional for those that, had some sort of ties to the original film, and
Hmm.
and also just the idea of Daniel storming into Cobra Kai, giving zero fucks, and leaving with basically half of Johnny's students. And yeah, that's just something I remember, and I was all in. I
There
was
you
already
go.
all in by that point,
I
but
well, since as you just said that, well, I think we need to crack the big question about this episode. Is the title a double entendre? All in. He tells him, "You make a move, go all in," and then it ends near the end of the episode. He's making that move with Tori. Is there like a little bit of a sexual double entendre? Go all in with the girl.
I mean, from what we understand, they discuss everything, right? So, possibly that came up as well.
That's how
Mhm.
I always saw that.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. I get it. I totally get it.
It definitely has like even before the mall fight, like the mall chase, they always said that was like a throwback to maybe like some John Hughes stuff like from the 80s, like where they're running through the mall and he's knocking stuff over. There's a lot of fun that the hawk going after Dimitri in the scene, like that's like the first moment where we start getting the rift between those two, because before that they were still friends, right? um
Yeah, but
so
and also I'm kind of thinking back to like the trailer too, when we see like a glimpse of that a hawk kind of stepping forward towards Dimitri as he's backing up and then being held by I believe Mitch, uh or maybe even Chris at that point. I kind of forget the details, but I remember seeing that as like very predatorial. Like what is going on
Mhm.
between these two? They're friends. So you're absolutely right. There's
Right,
definitely a rift going on. Yeah.
finish the fight, that was in the trailer too. Yeah, some great
Hmm.
moments. Yeah, it's a good episode.
Indeed. I mean, they all are. All right. So to you for your number five.
So, for my number five, I will say something right off the top. This is one that actually surprised me. It made the list when I first made my list, and this is like when we're talking, like we're keep changing and everything changes. Like when I first sat down and wrote a bunch of episodes out that I could be, this wasn't on it at all. And then I was thinking, and then suddenly I thought, oh wait, how about this one for the honorable mentions? And I added this to honorable mentions, and then I was looking at it, and I think, you know what? I think this should be on the list. And you know what? It made the list. It's number five. So my number five, season 3, episode 5, Miyagi Do.
Sure.
What I
Fantastic
think is
episode.
Yeah, what I think is great about this episode is, first off, I'll say I think it is the best episode of season 3. I said that when I first did a live stream right after watching the season, like the next day. I remember someone asked me, what was your favorite part? And I thought about it. I said, I think the best part of season three is the middle. It really peaked. And this episode really has it all. From the nostalgia flashback to the movies, we have Chosen and we have Kumiko, we have the Bell Girl, all that whole storyline. Daniel learning more about Miyako, which obviously is the title of the episode, all that. So we're expanding the lore essentially, and with nostalgia from the past. It has what I think is the best fight of season three, particularly Robbie versus Sean. But you can even include the arcade fight with the kids. It's very suspenseful and stressful. When Sam has the breakdown, Tori comes in, Hawk breaks Dimitri's arm. It's like exciting in a stressful, suspenseful way. It's not like action. Hell yeah. But then the Robbie Shawn fight is probably just like spectacular, where Robbie's literally jumping off the walls and stuff. I think that's just a great fight, and also the storyline you don't want to forget, and where I think what makes it make the list is the Johnny Miguel moments in this scene. This is where Johnny's trying to help Miguel get out of that wheelchair, and he's going through his training sessions, and then there's such a great moment then where he's doing the whole I forget that he's telling him the story, and then he sets his leg on fire, and then Miguel's like, I didn't feel anything, and it's such like this moment of like, oh my God, all is lost, like it's not going to happen. And then Johnny has this idea. He takes Miguel to the concert, and we get that Dee Snider concert. And this is like the theme of the show is like the power of rock music, the power of, it's been in the show from episode one. And then it's suddenly he gets a little feeling in his foot, and he's tapping his foot, and it's the power of rock and roll. And I just think this episode has every part of what makes Cobra Kai great. I thought at the time this is the episode they should have submitted for the Emmys. I don't think it would have made a difference, but still, I think it's a great episode, best episode of season three.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a really great episode, and also they got to actually go to Okinawa to film some of those sequences too. So
Absolutely, some great
yeah,
shots there. At
absolutely, yeah,
Miyagi Island, which I made a video on a long time ago, if you
yeah,
remember.
yeah, absolutely. So hard to argue against that, but it doesn't make my list of spoiling that now, but maybe another 305 adjacent, who knows?
Yeah.
Um, so really great number five there.
And we
Back to
both
me.
had episode five, just pointing that out for our
Yeah.
number
Oh,
fives.
yeah. So let's see if any more fives show up, perhaps.
We'll see.
Um, my number four, I feel like four through two could be interchangeable. They're all very strong, but again, they're all great episodes, all 50 of them. This one comes from season four, episode eight, Party Time, directed by Tony
Ah,
McTiernan, and written by Joe and Luan. Did you have a comment off the bat?
no. I just know the episode, and I
Ah,
know I even remember talking to you initially after season four, and it was one of your favorite episodes. So,
oh
mhm,
yeah,
mhm,
yeah, hands down, definitely one of my favorites. It had to be on this list. I talked
mhm,
about a full episode. We get the release of Stingray,
mhm.
from probation, and
Yeah.
so we get that reintroduction of that character. He goes back to Cobra Kai and then meets Terry Silver for the first time. Kreese is there now running the dojo. This is also the prom date episode for those that have
Right.
forgotten the title.
Mhm,
And I just loved, Robbie and Tori just having a good ass night. It does obviously end with a little bit of karate, obviously because it's Cobra Kai, and
mhm,
we get the introduction of another LaRusso, Vanessa, played by Julia
mhm.
Macchio.
Yeah.
Some really great, uh, my cousin Vinny adjacent scene,
Mhm.
kind of thing, and how can we forget the whole "I love you too, Robbie" to Miguel?
Mm. Yeah. What a killer ending.
Oh yeah, really kicking the, whatever metaphor you want to or analogy you want to add there. And if that wasn't rough enough, Terry Silver beats the shit out of Stingray at the very end. Just
Oh,
very uncomfortable that ending there.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely one of the top episodes of season four. I've always put it up there. Um, you're right. It connects on every level. You got from the Johnny Terry Silver stuff with Crease too is involved in that. Then the kids, like, it's a great the teen scene for the romance and the drama, and it's fun because we see kind of like Tori and Robbie going on this journey. They were kind of like semi flirting, almost flirting for on and off for the season, and then they're suddenly going to prom together. Yeah, it's great, and the fight is a lot of fun. There's some fans out there that don't like it, but it's like, no, you got to have fun with some fights, and this is definitely like the pool fight where they all end up in the water.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
it's not a serious fight. That's what you. It's like the show's even telling you, don't take it too seriously. Have some fun with it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like that fight doesn't even escalate. Like they
Yeah.
fall into the water, they all have a good laugh, and it kind of ends it, right there.
Mhm.
And Billy's drunk acting also on display here, very reminiscent, and they have said as much, but kind of mirrors the drunk Miyagi scene from the first movie as well.
Yeah, right.
Yep, yep. All right, circling back to you for number four.
This was a hard one. I wasn't sure this one would make the list, but you know what? It's out of loyalty. Season one, episode one, Ace Degenerate. It's the episode that lured us all in, and it's one of those things I wish I could go back and just watch it again the first time, and just where you just don't know what you're watching. It's like, well, like, oh yeah, okay, it's the new Karate Kid show, and you watch it, okay, it starts with the movie, and then it goes in, and then we're on, Johnny, Billy Zapka, it's following him, and it just hits every beat. Some things I think the show does so well. Um, you know, like things episode one does so well. We introduce Johnny. We see that like he's living in the shadow of Daniel, like almost literally. Daniel's up on a billboard, and then Miguel's like the annoying kid, and we see immediately how Johnny's kind of like he's a handyman. He's almost like in that Mr. Miyagi role, literally like doing the same job, and then he saves Miguel from the bullies the same way Mr. Miyagi did. It's like you can see the immediate connections to the original movie and the echoes. And then in like the next scene, when he's back home getting out of jail, and Miguel's like going after, teach me karate, and he's like trying to say he doesn't want to teach him karate, but then he's like, it's not a karate school, it's called dojo. Like he's actually teaching Miguel. He's teaching Miguel right there, even while he's trying not to. It's just like he's gonna be a teacher. And I always love the writing in that scene. It's so amazing. Um, and then like the scene where he's depressed and drunk, and he's watching Iron Eagle, and it's like, oh, so great. He's driving, and then just all the way to the end to where he ends up at LaRusso Auto, meets Daniel face to face. Of course, he's like, where it's going, but it's just so good. And it's got to be on the top five for me, just because I just have to honor that. It's everything is
Sure.
so good about it.
I,
Yeah.
I I feel a lot of people would agree that it's like,
Mhm.
a perfect pilot, right? It
Mhm. It
you know,
really is. Yeah. Mhm.
it reintroduces characters that we haven't seen in decades, while also introducing us to a generation of brand new students. And if I'm not mistaken, that's an episode that's also, I feel like it's also under 30 minutes. It's like 20.
Probably like 28 or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah. I don't even think it broke 30 minutes. And so yeah, a fantastic episode. Maybe more on that later. Who knows?
Maybe we'll see.
Maybe. So back to me for number three. This one here is, I don't know if it's recency bias or character bias. Who knows? But in for my number three is episode, or I'm sorry, season five, episode two, Mole. Directed
Mhm.
by Steven Suchida and written by Joan Lewan. This one we start off with like something I think not a lot of people would have expected. A flashback of not just Young Chosen, but Sato. Like I
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm sure there were people out there, but like how many people were saying like, oh, we would see Sato. Like I think most people would say Sato if we got like more flashbacks of like Miyagi back in Okinawa, perhaps. But
Mhm.
this is just Chosen and his uncle Sato, much younger, 1972. But this is also while we get that, we're also getting the present day Sensei Joe, played by Chosen,
Mhm.
also kind of infiltrates Cobra Kai as a new recruit for Terry Silver is looking for new senseis and has a bunch of senseis from the valley, and so we get like a lot of intense moments where Chosen's not only at the Cobra Kai dojo, but then is invited to Terry Silver's house, his humble abode, where he's also by himself. So a lot of tension there, but on the idea of tension, like so much is going on Robbie and Johnny's road trip to Mexico to bring back
Mhm.
Miguel. There, Miguel is spending time with his biological father, who Hector doesn't even know that this Miguel is his child, and so a lot of intense moments and very just very uneasy, unsettling moments. And then when Miguel is also reunited with Johnny, another great moment to kind of be, for lack of a better word, undercut, with Robbie's appearance, right?
Mhm.
During that hug, and it's like just a little bit of reminder to the last time he heard Robbie's name was uttered by Johnny, who he's currently embracing. So
Yeah.
just another one of those full episodes, just a lot going on in that in a good way, obviously.
Yeah, it's definitely a packed episode. It's a great
Packed. I like that
episode.
word
Yeah.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's so much going on that the infiltration from Sensei Joe and the Mexico storyline is amazing. Just every part of it, you feel Miguel where he's really, you know, growing closer to his father there at the moment in his phone call with his mom. And then it starts going south and it's so bad. And but then you have the also with the bonding with Johnny and Robbie, and they get along so well, and it
Yeah.
works out for them. And then he finds Miguel, so it's like a sad but at least resolution, happy ending. And then the great fight, with
Yeah.
Chosen.
And
Yeah,
also I I cannot recall like speaking with anybody that said, "Oh, I did not like that Chosen and Tori scene." You know what I mean? Like I think people were like, "Hey, you know what? Tori could probably use Chosen as a sort of mentor." And
yeah,
so
it's
we got
something I've been
yeah,
talking with my channel members
yeah,
in our channel member thing. We like talking about that. Like, what if like Chosen and Tori next season? There's something. Yeah, that's such a great training scene and two characters you didn't expect to see together.
absolutely,
Really good.
absolutely. Back to you for number three.
Uh, this used in the first time I made a list. This was number one. It's now number three. Season one, episode five, Counterbalance. Um, I loved this episode. For the first two seasons, it was number one. I think it does everything the show does great. From everything from a training montage that it opens with, Miguel and all the training. We get a little the teen drama is actually kind of good there. It's fun to watch. With Yasmin and Moon are kind of dumping on Sam, but then she confronts them, and then Kyler's being Kyler at this time, and his stuff, and then we get the big cafeteria fight, which was still one of I think one of my favorite fights. I think I had it in my top five fights, didn't I? I don't remember, but yeah, the cafeteria fight was is top notch. The moment after the fight, you get Miguel and Johnny's like giving Miguel his old gi. It's such a bonding, but then Robbie oversees it. Like I said, and then Daniel. Daniel at Mr. Miyagi's grave and feeling bad and realizing he had lost his ways. And that doesn't even get to like how he was screwing with Johnny throughout the episode and before this to get back at Johnny. And then there's that great scene where Johnny's kind of drunk and getting the beer and he realizes he drank all the beer and it's just going it's just going back and forth and it ends with Daniel, putting on his gi and getting back into karate.
Yeah, another great episode, and I do reference that one in particular for the scene you kind of mentioned about Johnny going to go grab some beer, and
Mhm.
Daniel walks in and is basically like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, put that on my tab, or I'll pay for that or kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was one of like Daniel's lows for me, where I was just like, man, they are really blurring the lines right there between black and white, and this is very much like yeah, a color I didn't like on Daniel. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what you kind of gave me a beat there to kind of say something, but I had my mic on mute because I was trying to look it up. I only have my list, but at the very least, we did talk about the episode. Because I had it at number four, 105 Counterbalance. So
Hmm.
if at the very least, we did discuss it. I don't remember if it was
Yeah.
actually on your list. Yeah. So yeah, it's a really good one. I was trying to make mine not so season one heavy. I was
I
playing.
thought of that too. Okay, I had
Yeah.
it number three. I
Yeah.
did. I've looked it up now. It was at number
Oh,
three.
okay. Oh, so we probably said, hey, not it was a crossover for sure, and so we probably just combined the discussion
Actually,
there.
yeah, without even realizing it, I mean, because it used to be my number one fight and my number one episode, and they both now fall into number three, and like that wasn't even intentional. I just realized
Hmm.
I just did that.
All right, let's see here. It's still a great addition. That's something I heavily considered. It definitely missed my list. Okay, so my number two, I can't believe we're already almost to number one. My number two, still in season five, an episode that we discussed, and to some people, this is the season finale. I'm talking about 505, Extreme Measures. Um, this one directed by Jen Salata, a veteran director, obviously of television and other things, but we've seen her work since season one,
Yeah,
and
she's
yeah, this one's directed by, or I'm sorry, written by Bob Dearden. Again, another one of those packed episodes. We kind of uh, played around or fooled around when we were talking about top five fights. One of the there's definitely a lot of fights in here, but in talking about one of the fights, we kind of started talking about like the scene and the sequence and that kind of led up to it. And basically we were kind of beating around the bush with it. At least I was about like the reintroduction of Jessica Andrews and how that all
hmm
just completely worked for me because I was like, I don't see her returning because how and what's the reason? And I bought into this. And not only that, they brought a character that was only mentioned by name, Luzianne, Rooney.
Oh, Elizabeth Ann Rooney. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's her
So
name.
right. And they
Lizzie
called
Ann. Yeah.
her, yeah, they called her like different variations of it to kind of still throw us off the scent. And then, like once for the hardcore Karate Kid 3 fans, you probably picked it up immediately, but I think they were
hmm
still kind of like toying around with the name. And then when you figure it out, you're like, oh, holy crap, it was like right there in front of me kind of thing.
hmm
Just like the picture with the no head. But
hmm
so that was great. You get the scene where Chosen and Daniel go visit Stingray, and when Stingray breaks his PlayStation, I kind of feel bad for him. But then we get a fight, between Terry Silver and Daniel to kind of end the episode with. So yeah, just a lot of things going on there. Um,
And for the
I
Terry
mentioned
Silver
fight.
fans,
Yeah,
remember we had Mark when we recapped this. This was the series finale.
right.
Terry
Let's be
Silver
water.
wins. Yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking of fights, this is also where we see Miguel and Robbie fight. So they finally duke that out there.
Yeah.
And let's see here. Let's see, I mentioned Johnny accidentally reveals Carmen's pregnant to the boys, and they're both really excited for them.
hmm
And
Olive
anything
Garden ends
Olive
with
Garden, yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So yep, Olive Garden. So a lot of people have been trying the breadsticks or even Olive Garden for the first time because of this episode. So just one of those things. Um yeah, I think that's it. Just kind of going through this a little bit, but yeah, just from beginning to end, just a fantastic episode.
It really is. It just packs everything. Ending, with such a great series finale of Terry Silver triumphing, with his foot on Daniel's neck. Um, but no,
Yeah,
it really is. It nails like we said, talking. It just nails everything that makes the show so good. Like I'm gonna go back to that to Johnny and working with Miguel and Robbie, and he's got the escape room plan and everything, and he's going through these different things, and finally, and then it's Daniel that almost kind of gives him the idea, like they just need to fight it out. Like Johnny figures it out from something from Daniel as Daniel's going through his stuff. And the fight scene is definitely really popular between uh Miguel and Robbie. Like that's where the so intense, so scary, even as
Yeah.
Miguel gets him up there, and is he gonna knock him over? What happened? And the similarities from the school fight and such. Uh,
Yeah, this episode has gives me all the feels. You
mhm,
have
mhm,
parts where you're happy, sad, obviously, and the stronger emotions of uncomfortable, being uncomfortable. Just when Daniel pops into Stingrays when the lights are off again. When I mentioned the fights, I'm like, "What are you doing? Turn on the lights." We know what this means in
mhm,
movie and TV tropes.
mhm.
Yeah, just uncomfortable, happy, sad, all of the feels. And oh, man, I feel like there might have been one more point in that episode, but I can't think of it at this moment. Maybe it'll come back up. But three measures for my number two. So back to you for number two.
Okay. I'll just get into it. It's a phenomenal, great episode. Season 4, episode 2, First Learned Stand, written by Joe and Luan. Um, this in some ways it really is the capstone of the series. I think. It's the episode that pays off everything. The first 4 seasons, 3 seasons, we're all building up towards that moment where Johnny and Daniel, first kind of come together. They teach each other's karate. You start with Johnny learning the wax on, wax off, and it gets to one of the best scenes of the series so far. Um, when Johnny's painting the house, he's kind of making fun of the karate, making fun of the beer, and Daniel kind of snaps and just breaks that beer bottle right there. And you know, no one was more badass than Miyagi. And then what does Johnny do? He puts the beer down, picks up the brush, goes back. One of the best scenes of the show so far. Just so great. It hits on everything you're looking for.
I
Um,
feel you previously tipped your hand when we did the episode mentions of Miyagi.
Missions to Miyagi, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yep.
yeah, you see, there's definitely repetition, echoes,
Yeah, yep, yep, yep.
poetry
Yeah,
on that. Yeah, definitely. But going on, it goes on, and then when Johnny's training Daniel, and then the hockey fight is so great. He gets those hockey guys mad at him, and then they fight him, and then Daniel snaps and strikes first. The only time he's ever done that against those hockey guys because he's pissed and he kicks their ass. And then of course we get the great line. It's the most popular line of season 4. Where were you? He's like, go be there. You
and
know,
bites the pretzel. So pretzel
yeah, it
day.
bites the pretzel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're
And
sharing
then
that National Pretzel Day.
yeah, and we'll round it without, this is the episode that introduced Kenny. It's a great introduction. We saw Anthony again, a very different side of Anthony, the bullying then. So we're back at the core of, Karate Kid, new kid, not getting along good with the other kids, getting bullied, getting picked on. It ends with Kenny talking to his brother Sean, and that reveal too. So it introduced Kenny so great. I mean, it really is an episode from paying off everything with Johnny and Daniel that we've been waiting for in such the most perfect way you could do, to restarting again with Kenny. And here's the story: the new kid getting bullied. Uh, I just think it's one of the best episodes. After season 4, I continuously declared it the best episode of the series. On this list, it's number 2.
Did you mention one of Kenny's bullies?
Well, Anthony,
Yes.
then of
Hmm.
course the redhead and the other kids. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking
Yeah,
at my list to kind of prep for the next entry here, and I
yeah.
wasn't sure if you said Anthony, but that was just one of those things where like a lot of
Mhm.
people watched it and they're seeing Anthony on the bus, and some people didn't realize that was Anthony at first, until the mention of LaRusso. It's like, wait, what? This is Anthony all grown up and now he's a bully?
Lapusso, Lapusso,
Lapusso, absolutely.
Lapusso.
So
Yeah.
Um, All right, another great one. Again, these are just all really great episodes. My list can change, in a few days,
Hmm.
different rankings, perhaps even. So I kind of teased it. Oh, pardon me. I kind of teased it earlier that, more on that later, perhaps. And what I have at number one, it was just really tough to place it, and I just kind of put it first because it is the first episode. It's the pilot. I kind of mentioned that I feel a lot of people, including myself would call this like a perfect pilot. Ace Degenerate, season one, episode one, obviously. It sets up not only reintroduces the characters like I mentioned, but it sets up all these brand new people. And again, under 30 minutes, I don't know how they did it, but
Yeah.
I think it just shows that these guys they know the universe just as well as all the other big fans. And I just love that this episode also kind of demonstrates their patience. It would have been easy to introduce Daniel LaRusso pretty early on, but instead they
Hmm.
wait until, the very last scene. Um, and just the exchanges, I feel like this was part of the trailer was when, Daniel says like, if you want to be, what was it? If you want to get technical, I kicked his face or it was his face.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so there's that, but I often tell people like, oh yeah, when I'm trying to sell them on it, I go, oh yeah, Daniel's a bit of a dick at first, and there's even a part where he's about to walk off and say, hey, it was great, you look, it was great seeing you, that line. I was just like, oh man, what? Like he can even say that Johnny looked great, he couldn't even lie about it because that's how
Oh
bad Johnny
yeah.
looked.
And you know what he says like and don't worry about the stuff back then. It wasn't you. It was Cobra Kai, and
Yep.
that's what drives Johnny to go and open Cobra Kai. Oh.
Yeah, it's what sets Johnny off.
Mhm.
And you mentioned some of those other previous scenes, but one of the other scenes that I really enjoyed in that episode, I remember asking John Hurwitz during one of his Q&As about this particular scene, and it's when Johnny goes to the All Valley. He's in the parking lot, and
Mhm.
he kind of sees
Oh.
from a different vantage point where Kreese is choking him out.
Mhm.
And I asked John about that, that it was giving me Back to the Future 2 vibes. And this was before, at least I think it was before I found out that they were big fans of that franchise as well. But I mean, kids of the 80s who isn't.
Mhm.
And he said something to the effect like, at that time, it was like one of his favorite nights, production on anything he's worked on. Um, um, uh, and so I was like, cool, I got to ask a cool question. And then at some point they came on, might have been the first episode, I don't remember, but they talked about, the idea of possibly like having Johnny in the ether, smoke or whatnot. And the final result is obviously what they decided upon. Just a great episode. And when Johnny gets T-boned, they don't tell us exactly who these young ladies are, and then the
Now you don't
reveal,
know. Mhm.
yeah, yeah, in the dealership is just kind of like, oh, holy shit! But this pilot, that was the hook. I was all in with that first episode.
There you go. Yeah, it's a pilot that should be studied, from people because it just does everything well. It brings you back into the world through new characters with its own twist, and it's so natural, and just everything about it is so good. Yeah, and you're right. You mentioned that scene where Johnny's watching himself. They got the body doubles to use it, and if you look at it, it's actually only one shot. I think there's only one shot of him, but with Billy standing like in the middle, and then young Johnny and young or all young Kreese, old Kreese, whatever you want to call him, but is like choking him out from. So they recreated that with Johnny, with Billy, as Johnny watching him, his younger self. Yeah, it's a great shot. That the funny thing is, like, I didn't even really like it's so natural. I remember reading John talking about that, how he loved that, and then I'm like, wait, what shot is he talking about? Like, I didn't even like realize that like they recreated that. It's kind of an
Oh yeah,
interesting shot. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that's my number one. Back to you for number one.
I guess if yours was the perfect ending, this could have been like the perfect ending. Season 5, episode 10, Head of Snake. Um, there may be a recency bias on this one. Uh, this is one, maybe it'll change after season 6. I'll reorder everything. But right now, I think the episode is just so good. Just great fights up and down. From the Chosen Silver, Johnny versus the Fist. the kids in the dojo, and then Daniel versus Silver at the end. Great fights. It drives, it pushes the suspense. From the beginning, we pick up, from the cliffhanger, right? Where they're in the limo out of control
Yeah,
and
yeah, it
everything.
got
Yeah.
hijacked or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you pick up from there, and it just drives forward. The kids in their quest to break in, and they're reuniting, and the betrayal of Mitch, and ultimately it wraps up, like it wraps up, or well, actually, let's get the reintroduction of Mike Barnes. We were missing him so badly. He comes back, gets them all to Terry Silver's. It's just fun. It's got a lot of forward momentum. It's not like First and Stand, where it's just like the everything the show is about just coming to fruition. It's like running towards the finish line, and that's what it does. It's just running towards the finish line and kicking ass every step of the way. And it ends with a crane kick. So,
Oh yeah.
great conclusion. Kreese breaks out of jail, setting it up for the future. But it's like it could be the series finale. Obviously, they had always intended to do more. But it's such a great end.
Very great episode. I still love the uh, after the reveal that it was Mike Barnes that took off with the Hummer.
Mhm.
Chosen's got some really great dialogue during that
Mhm.
sequence as well. The fight, as you mentioned, the kids fight at the Cobra Kai dojo. Yeah, just a lot going on in there. It was like a mini movie and a great, you know, 1-2 punch with 509 and 510.
Mhm.
So yeah, really good. Neither of those made my list. It, heavily considered. It was just very, very difficult to narrow down. So to circle back, I'll list my honorable mentions and briefly discuss why, and then uh, and reread my top five. So
Mhm.
just right outside the five, this is in no particular order. 506 for Girls. This was directed by Joel Novoa and written by Michael Jonathan Smith.
Mhm.
Um, introduction of Sensei Kim and the Fist,
Mhm.
Chosen and Johnny fighting back to back. A lot to like in this episode. Just another packed episode in that one. 103 Escaleto.
Mhm.
This was directed by Jen Salata, written by John Josh and Hayden. Another short episode, but they did so much. I just love the imagery of Miguel walking through the smoke and then revealing the OG skeleton costume. This is also where we got Poor Man and knowing the Diaz family a little bit more, and it ending with Miguel having a little bit more confidence to strike first, but ultimately he was unable to hold his own. So just one of those like hooks at the end where I'm like, ah, I need to see it. And I don't think it made it in my cliffhangers episode, but no, I do not
I
have
think it
it.
made it in mine.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
could be. It's a very good one.
Yeah.
And my third honorable mention is from season three, episode four, The Right Path. I was kind of teasing it earlier,
Mm.
the part one, part two, kind of the Okinawa storyline there.
Right.
This one we get to see the return of Kumiko, played by Tama Tomita, obviously. Um, and it kind of ends with another cliffhanger where Chosen walks in at the
Yeah.
very end, though. So a lot of things to like with this one, obviously, and I think just to kind of say, well, like one thing about the episode, if people need a refresher, Miyagi letters, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to mention it.
Mhm.
And to recap my five, number five was season two, episode five, All In. Number four was season four, episode eight, Party Time. Number three was season five, episode two, Malay. Number two, season five, episode five, Extreme Measures. And my number one was Ace Degenerate, the pilot.
Mhm. So going to mine, just so my honorable mentions, season one, episode seven, Quiver, written by Joe and Luan. I think this episode was just always so much fun for me. This is like, I mean, there's a reason I always say season one is the perfect season, and it's just fun. It begins with young Johnny flashback. Actually, it begins with the definition of quiver, but then the young Johnny flashback. Him basically learning how to run a full dojo instead of like two students. Um, and then like the emergence of Hawk and everything in that, and then Miguel and trying to he's got the Miguel Sam stuff's always going there too. So that episode I've always just loved from season one. And other season two, episode 4, The Moment of Truth. This is definitely an episode I've talked about a lot. If you've seen my videos, especially after season 2, it's the introduction of Tori. The spark of the Tori Sam rivalry started here. It's just, there's so much there. I think it's actually probably been one of the most discussed episodes in the series. Like if you just look at online ink and YouTube talking words and such, I for sure have used this episode a lot. There's just a lot there to talk about. Tori comes in. We also have, keep in mind, like there's Robbie and Daniel fighting his old gangs on the beach. Daniel like wandering because he's trying to get new students, and like even that moment where he thinks he sees Miyagi on the beach is kind of a fun moment. There's the Kreese section. This is where we learn, Kreese wasn't some big soldier of fortune, something, he was living in a shelter, and kind of Cobra Kai was his way of coming back. Johnny invites him back. It ends with a little touch. So yeah, just a really referenced episode. I felt like it needed to make the list. And because season 2 needed some more love, season 2, episode 9, Pulpo, it's another episode I feel like I've talked about a lot back in the day. Like just so much going on, so much fun, Moon's party, the double date where they go and they're kind of, it's a little tense, but then they find it ease up a little, and then they end up dancing, getting a few drinks, and then the double date ends up with Miguel and Sam. They're back doing it, kissy kissy, but just a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff in that episode. And
Completely.
then,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
oh
And then
no,
your
no,
top
go ahead
five.
because
Yeah.
I was just gonna to recap my top 5. Number 5, season 3, episode 5, Miyagi Do. Number 4, season 1, episode 1, Ace Degenerate. Number 3, season 1, episode 5, Counterbalance. Number 2, season 4, episode 2, First Learn Stand. Number 1, season 5, episode 10, Head of Snake. Head of
Um,
this. Yeah.
Head of a snake. In I guess more of kind of hearing about each other's list. Is there any surprises? Like specifically, was there an episode that you thought I would definitely have on my list, and vice versa? So
Um,
I'll tell you mine. I'll have to think about it though.
um, that I thought you definitely would have. I guess let's see, you had extreme measures in there somewhere, didn't you?
Yes.
I'm
Yep.
trying to,
Yep.
yeah, like that was the one because I know you really like that one. And you had it even for your best fight. So that was like one, there's some like I didn't know, like I thought maybe you would have Miyagi Do in there somewhere. You went with the right path, I think, on your honorable mentions instead. Like it, but it's just so I think which one's yeah, Ace Degenerate, I believe. Yeah. But yeah, there wasn't much that I certainly thought you would have.
Yeah. Like
Because see, it's just such, I think the only episode we have in common is Ace Degenerate, right?
I'll have to go back to my list. I believe you're all in Malay. I think you're right. I think Ace Degenerate.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because I
I
was
mean,
even
that's
considering
just
jumping in.
crazy. Yeah. Even with the honorable mentions, I actually have like 3, 4 more written here below it in italics that didn't make the list because I also have different but same, Bicephaly, Mole, and Glory of Love. Now you had Mole on there.
Right, right. Yeah.
But
That would have been.
those were the ones that didn't make the list at all. So, you know,
I mean, and it would be kind of cool to kind of have those as like backups if we cross over a lot, especially like in auto mentions, you could just swap some out.
yeah, no, you
There's
really
even
can. Yeah.
there's one moment I even forgot about in Ouroboros, or Ouroboros, but the Miyagi's room, another one of
Oh,
those like
right, right.
emotional sequences. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, And with your list, I guess my surprise was 510 being your number one. Like I don't dispute that, like being on a list. I do believe that belongs
Yeah.
on a list, especially yours. And I guess now that I think about it, like we really love that the end sequence, the
Mhm.
fight and
Yeah.
and kind of what led to it and kind of what it meant.
Yeah.
Very stand up and cheer. We just
Yeah.
discussed that. So
The thing is, and I say this, it's like number one now, but like when you get a season after, it's like partially number one because it's like a great ending. But when we put a season after it, and then you look back at the whole series, it may not be that because there's going to be like something after it. So it's like because it works as an ending. Like we've said so many times, if that were a series finale, it would make sense. But so that's why I do think that one will change. But like
oh
number
yeah.
two, like I've said, First Lawrence Stan was my favorite episode of the series after season four came out, and I had said that several times. Um,
I'm almost thinking by the end of the show's end, if we kind of do this again, I feel there'd be a lot more season six episodes on here from what they're kind of telling us. And more to choose from also.
yeah,
So
I have two Bob Dearden episodes. Um, yeah, two Bob Deardens. Joe and Luan, who are actually my favorite writers, are only in one First Lawrence Stand,
right,
but they did
402,
they
yeah.
did they did get Quiver, which for the honorable mention.
All right.
Um, but then actually John Josh and Hayden are some of my favorite writers too, even though
Yeah,
they weren't
same.
in there. But like season four, episode one is a great episode too. And they wrote Ace Degenerate, so they got one episode.
Yeah, it was really hard to narrow it down.
Mhm.
And let's see if the Facebook group page had even tougher time. The
Oh
first three
boy.
comments, yep, shout out to Jeff, Kiara, and Pialani, all saying that this is impossible or too hard or they can't. Mike P gives it a try. He says, I refuse to answer on the grounds that it may incriminate me. Okay, fine. 510, and you discussed that one. That was your number one.
Hmm.
305, that's also on your list.
Hmm.
Miyagi-Do, so 510 was Head of the Snake. 107, that's, if I'm not mistaken, All Valley, right? That's off the top of my head.
No, no,
Uh,
no, no.
or
Oh no, wait, yeah, 107. Oh, I said six when I said Quiver because 106 is
oh,
Quiver.
oh,
What?
right, right, yeah.
Yeah, I said it wrong. Yeah, 107 is All Valley. You're right.
Okay, okay. So number seven, or he didn't list them, but the third one he listed was 107 All Valley. He does have 106 Quiver, so
Yeah,
and then 105 Counterbalance. So mostly number ones, season ones.
season
So
one.
yeah, it's just
It's a great
It's,
season.
it's it's a very great
Yeah.
season.
Mhm.
All right, next one comes from Christy. She said this is a hard choice, but I'll say Ace Degenerate, different but same. Which also, I guess, that was another surprise I had thought about and forgotten. So thanks
Mhm.
for the reminder, Christy. That different
Yeah.
but same was
Yeah.
one that so many people talked about. Like what REO Speedwagon and the whole bar
Yeah.
scene. Like
Mhm.
so much
Good stuff.
goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
absolutely. She continues with Take a Right. That's the OG Cobras.
Mhm.
Feel the Night, which is also a surprise. I feel none of us mentioned with the return of Allie, and
True.
also Head of the Snake. She lists
Mhm.
last, so maybe her number one or her number five.
Mhm.
But again, we discussed it in a really great episode. Next one comes from Dorian. He says this was tough. I'm talking Miguel's first talking verse. I'm talking Miguel's first lesson with Johnny. Tough. Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Number one. So I'll go in reverse order since he has them numbered. Number five, he has Popo. That would be
Mhm.
209. Number four,
Mhm.
Head of the Snake. Another one. Very popular, that episode, 510. Number three, First Learn Stand. So that's 402, you said?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
402.
yeah. His number two is different but same. That's 109. And number one, December 19th. There we go. And that was 309 or
310.
310.
310.
310. Okay, okay, got it. So that's the one with the fight with Johnny, Daniel, and Kreese also. So
Mhm.
next one comes from Ron. He says, I'm so used to binge watching the show that the episodes all kind of blend together for me. But season one, episode one, first episode got me hooked. That's Ace Degenerate. I
Mhm.
completely agree. Same words I used.
Mhm.
Um, Also, season one, episode five, Cafeteria Fight. That's going to be Counterbalance.
Mhm.
Just a great cliffhanger. I'm sorry, number three, season three, episode five, Miyagi-Do.
Mhm.
Season three, episode 10, Allie, or is that the previous episode? She gets
She's in
introduced in
both,
309.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's in both, right? Yeah, so that continues. And his the last one he lists is season five, episode 10, epic season finale. I think I got those right, Dan and I. I mean, they're all very strong ones,
yeah.
and they've all been listed. So
Hmm.
definitely more than once. I feel, do you feel like episode season five, episode 10 is like kind of the not the favorite, but the one that most people are listing?
It's
Like,
getting listed a lot.
yeah,
Ace Degenerate's been getting a lot of mentions too, but yeah.
yeah. JS, he says, I can't narrow it down to five, but I'll try. LOL. To be fair to every season, I'll choose one episode each. The first one he lists is Quiver, 105.
Mhm.
Next one is Glory of Love.
106,
I'm
106.
sorry,
Quivers
106. Okay.
106.
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness. Um,
Yeah, I made it
uh,
wrong too.
uh, Glory of Love, that's 208.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
208. Okay, Glory
208.
of Love.
Yeah.
The Good, the Bad, and the Badass, that's going to be 308, I believe. Then Learn
That's
Fly.
right.
Yeah, that's going to be 402. And Extreme Measures, that's 505. So,
Hmm.
again, great ones. We talked about every single one except for the Good, the Bad, and the Badass. So
Hmm.
that's one where they go be before the council and get uh, oh, gosh,
Get
did they
the All Valley
reinstate?
back at
Oh,
reinstated.
that's what it
Yeah.
was. That's what. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The All Valley. I was trying to. So was it the dojos? No, but yeah, it's because of the rival, between the
Hmm.
two schools. So,
Hmm.
yeah, another great episode for sure. Next one comes from Jen. She says, "Oh, fine," in all caps. Ace Degenerate 101. Take a right is her. I'm assuming number two. That's 506. Number three is Miyagi-Do 305. Number four is Head of the Snake 510. And December 19th is, I think, her favorite. Or maybe
Okay.
no particular order, but yeah, December 19th,
Yeah.
another 310 there.
Take
So
rights 206. You said 506, but otherwise, yeah.
206. Okay,
Yeah.
apologies.
Yeah.
And let's see, so she got the pilot, she has a mid-season, another mid-season. No, no, no.
Mhm.
Take a right is six. Miyagi-Do's five. Head of Snake's 10, December 1910. So, all middle and ends.
Hmm.
Um, and the last one comes from Allie, who is from across the pond. She says, top five episodes is so hard, but I've managed to come up with this list. Number five, season one, episode nine, different but same. This is the first time we see Johnny and Daniel bonding. Daniel admitting Mr. Miyagi was like a father to him. Number four, season five, episode two, nature versus nurture. Teaming up, chop shop fight, car chase, all good.
Yep.
Number three, yeah, I agree.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
was a good one as well. Also one I heavily considered. But yeah, just that fight. But I think for me, it was more of like, um, I guess it's that will they or won't they kind of thing, right? Like, cool, they're fighting together. Oh, well, now they're fighting each other. God damn it, So I think it was one of those
Yeah.
things for me.
Yeah.
Um, and see, number three for her was season three, episode four, The Right Path, seeing Kumiko and Daniel on screen together again, and of course, the letters. Number two, season five, episode 10, Head of Snake. So much action, and of course, Daniel beating Silver with the crane kick. And number one, her favorite episode, Counterbalance, season one, episode five. This episode kept me watching. In the earlier episodes, I had been enjoying the callbacks and Easter eggs, but I was not happy about Daniel's character. I was constantly shouting, no, he's not like that, that he's kind. This episode gave me hope. Daniel getting the headband out and putting it on still gives me the chills. Also, this episode gave the brilliant line, Anthony, stop drinking the butter.
It's
It is a
true.
good
It's
line.
true. Yeah.
Absolutely. And good advice also.
Yeah. Yeah. See
So,
that this show just gives you life advice. Don't
oh,
drink the butter.
absolutely. Yeah. Words to live by. Do not drink butter. Appreciate everybody leaving the feedback, their list. All very great episodes. Any surprises there, or one that you're surprised that we didn't even talk about until the feedback?
Um, no, I mean, like every episode, you're like, yeah, that's a good one. Oh, yeah, I see why they picked that one. It's like I said, like it's an impossible task. I do think my list will change, and I think many people's list will change after season six. Like I said, like I think Head of Snake works because season five is currently the most recent season. Like I think when you have a season after it, like the fact that it feels like a finale won't click as much. So maybe that it'll change for people. But that's in the future. We'll see how it turns out.
Absolutely. I feel it's definitely going to change because um I think originally had like 3 episodes in that top eight. And it's like, I don't know if again if it's that recency bias or I just had so much fun and there's
Mhm,
a lot in these episodes, but I can only imagine what we'll get with season six and the
mhm,
you know possibly longer episodes, more episodes. It's yet to be announced, and yeah, I feel we may have to make it 10, after that
mhm.
season. So
Yeah, we may have
we'll
to.
we'll definitely cross that bridge when we get there. So watch party, anything you want to pimp out? I mentioned the video you made on the Tudum event. Anything in the works or recently released since then? I know you've had a couple streams.
Do you want me to give you our next topic yet, or you want me?
Oh, I let's do that now. Yep. Go ahead.
Yes. So next topic, I let's do top five your biggest laugh out loud moments.
Ooh,
What made you
LOL.
laugh? Yes, what made best jokes? What made you laugh? And I worded it like that because I'm gonna go with stuff that actually makes me laugh out loud, like when I watched it.
So or
So
LM LM
LMAO,
LMAO. There you go.
well,
I
or
didn't think about
just
that.
LOL, whatever.
LOL. So whatever makes you laugh out loud. So I like
Yeah.
that. Sounds like a lot of fun, and I have to do some homework for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else or anything you got in the works that people can keep an eye out
Yes,
for?
I am writing a video on the writer's strike. So it'll be a change of pace, but we'll do that. It would have been out sooner, but I was out of town for a few days last week, and then we had the
Same.
4th of July. So, but
Yeah,
I'll get that out
absolutely.
soon. But
All right,
otherwise,
look,
yes, I'm on YouTube at Watch Party and
watch party.
Twitter and Instagram Watch Party One. So you can find me at any of those lovely locations.
All right. And for me, don't really have anything in the works, but I do have an episode that I still need to record for Twisted Metal over at Twisted Metal Companion. And we
Mm,
are going to go through some of the first look images that came out and the one clip that they shared with Sweet
mhm.
Tooth versus
Yeah.
John Doe, played by Anthony Mackie.
Mhm.
So lots to talk about there. And you could subscribe, obviously, to Twisted Metal Companion. Um, I think that's pretty much all I got going on for now. So that's it. You guys got it. The next episode is going to be top five biggest laugh out loud moments, or however you interpret that. I guess we'll just see you guys next time.